Thank you for joining us today for Master Your Robot, the Security Edition. With me today is Chad, who is our Robot Cloud admin. We also call him Lead Squirrel. Chad, you want to say hi?
Hey, good morning.
And of course, I'm Kat. I'm the Client Relationship Manager here at Forget Computers. First, I'm going to introduce a little bit about our company in case you're new and just started working with us, or if you've been working with us, great. And then we're going to go through some of these security options. We're going to start with password policies. We're going to look at Robot Cloud security alerts, SSH connections, admin account creation alerts, software restrictions, automating antivirus and malware deployment, automating encryption. Chad will again walk us through the demo, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. A little bit about our company. So we are located in the beautiful South Loop of Chicago. We have been supporting Macs in the Chicagoland area since 1998. They're also partners with Jamf Software, as our Robot Cloud is engined by the Casper Suite. We are certified by Apple and part of their Apple Consultant Network. A lot of people don't know this. We are also app developers, and specifically the apps we have developed are enhancements to the Casper Suite, and they are either bundled in Robot Cloud or they can be added on separately if you have your own JSS, and that would be the support menu and our dashboard. So, we have those available. They're in the App Store. And yeah, that's really what it comes down to. So without further ado, I know we've got a lot to cover. I'm going to pass the presentation along to Chad, and we're going to start walking through security for you guys.
Okay, that should be coming through. Kat, does that look good?
Yep, I see it.
Excellent. Okay. So this, for the purposes of demonstration, this is a virtual machine. I've enrolled it into Robot Cloud, and I've done some light provisioning of it already just for the purposes of this demo. And some of the things I'm going to show you are not going to be fully automated, but they can be. So keep that in mind, and I'll mention that as each of those things comes in, just so that you're fully aware. So the first thing I'd like to show you is putting a password policy onto a Mac. Now, if you have the Macs bound to Active Directory or Open Directory, if they're using a mobile account or a network account, clearly those password settings would be coming from the directory server itself. However, as we've seen in our like our Robot Cloud client base and others, people are moving away from this approach and looking to have Mac users with local accounts, but they still want to have some sort of a password policy on there, making sure that they're at least somewhat secured. And we can do that a multitude of different ways using Robot Cloud. One way, which could be considered like the opt-in method, which is what I'm going to show you, is there's an option here just within the self-service application, which is the software portal for getting any kind of settings, applications, things like that that you may not want to have automated. And if I go, a dialog pops up about this particular policy. A minimum of 10 characters, special characters, uppercase letters, etc., etc. If you have a specific requirement in your environment, it can be customized to this end. So it's an example one of having a password change, giving me the information every 90 days and some other requirements, but it doesn't mean this is the only way you can do it. We can mix and match anything that you see from the Apple Profile Manager, or we can even do custom password policies via command line scripting. I'll go ahead and run it on this machine, and it takes just a moment for it to drop in. And now, if I was to go to System Preferences, for example, and say I wanted to change my password that's currently in this particular user. First, I would authenticate with the old password. That is, if I type it correctly. Sorry, hold on. All right, well, apparently I can't type at the moment, so give me just a moment to just log out and log back in. I suppose it is possible that my current password doesn't meet the security requirements, and I'm going to have to change it to login screen. It'll tell me now if that is the case. Yep, okay, so my apologies. The password I had on this virtual machine was not sufficient for this demo. And now, if I was to type in a stronger password,
Well, it's great to know Robot Cloud's working and making sure that your password policy is up to date. So I guess you just demoed the password
Right?
policy.
Yeah, well, exactly. There we are.
You meant to do that.
Um, well, oh yeah, absolutely. I totally meant to do that. Well, it's good. You want to make sure it works, right? I honestly thought that my password was more secure than that. But hey, that's why we have the computer telling me I'm wrong, right? So that's good. And furthermore, what I wanted to show you before in system preferences, um, and this is also available at the login screen for Yosemite machines and higher. Oh, I just changed it. There we go. If I was to come in here and go to type in a new password, there we are. It's going to give me the list of the password requirements. So say this had been deployed to the machines automatically, and maybe you sent out an email to your respective users saying, hey, these are the settings, but they might not remember that if the password cycles in 30 days, 90 days time. So in system preferences, it details here exactly what the requirements are. And as I begin to type, the buttons here will begin to turn green for, there we are, showing that I had met the requirements for that new password, so I know I'm not trying in vain to get it set properly. The password policy, some additional options I should mention is that the additionally, it can be automated so that nobody has to go into self-service and do this. We can also have it set so that certain users are whitelisted. So if you have a company admin account that's either pushed out through Robot Cloud or it exists via another mechanism, maybe you created it manually, but you don't want that particular account to be a member of the policy itself, it can be excluded. Additionally, in OS 10, as many of you may already know, especially if you've already worked with Active Directory, the notification structure is rather weak. So Robot Cloud can present a dialog to the user while they're logged in when their password is about to expire within 14 days and once a day until it reaches 0, just in case they're not in front of the machine, they're on vacation, or like most users, they're just going to ignore it until it gets down to the time where they're forced to change it. If you have any additional questions about password policy, definitely we'll have a Q&A at the end. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and move on to demoing additional security options, in particular, how it applies to hardening and locking down SSH. As many of you may already know, SSH is a remote connection. It's very handy to get into another Mac via the command line, but if you have this option turned on, you want to make sure that others also logging into the machine, you don't want to create a security opening or loophole. And Robot Cloud, by default, when you're enrolled into the Actions plan, we have a security program that runs on the Mac and checks for SSH intrusions. So what I'm going to do now is I have a different terminal window open, which you unfortunately cannot see, and I'm going to attempt to break into this virtual machine. And there we go. What we're going to see happen is that within a minute or two, we're going to get an email notification generated showing that there was an intrusion, that the password attempts had failed, and that way we can take appropriate action from there. I think rather than wait even more than a minute, I'm going to go ahead and quit and relaunch our support menu app, which is not part of this demonstration, but is a very handy way to keep track of any notifications that you may be receiving. One additional moment. All right, I'll go ahead and quit that and relaunch it. It checks in every 5 minutes regardless, but do this. And there we are. There's our notification. Oh, nope, that was a different one. I apologize. The other one will come in shortly. I'm getting multiple notifications here. With the SSH hardening and the detection, a couple important things to note about that. When you have a different server, say in your environment, that scans all the machines over SSH for a different reason, We can whitelist IPs so they don't get triggered, which is very handy. We can also change the default SSH port on all of the machines. So say that you wanted to have it open, but you don't want it to operate on port 22. We can change it to something else so that you can connect to it, and it gives you a bit of security through obscurity, as they say. Other that we found that we didn't intend when we put this into place was it was a great way to find problems with home user networks, which you may or may not want to get involved in. But we'll find that in the office with a laptop, when they come into the office, we secure it, the firewall is on, we know it's safe. But when they go home, we started to notice alerts coming in, and we found out that either their kids had disabled the firewall to open up ports for gaming, or perhaps on the beginning. So at home, this laptop, which is company property, was being subjected to repeated attempts through SSH to try to connect to it. And it gives us an opportunity to show that we can help in all areas. Robot Cloud isn't just about securing things in an office. They can help secure it from anywhere. One additional note related to that Robot Cloud can also turn on the stateful OS 10 firewall, and we can help you configure that as well. So if you are worried about mobile users out in the field and they're not behind the company infrastructure, or they're not making an always-on VPN connection, and help you lock that down as well to give them and maybe yourself some peace of mind. One of the other options or items that Kat had mentioned before is an alert as it pertains to new administrators being created on a Mac. Now, typically, you might have a one-to-one deployment, or you might have an admin account for yourselves, and maybe the end user is an admin, maybe they're not. But on occasion, you'll get somebody who thinks that they know better than you, and they'll try to promote themselves to admin, and they may succeed. There are any number of websites online. The instructions are there. If you have any familiarity with Unix, you can do this all through single user mode. So it'd be a good idea to try to monitor this so that you know if an admin's created without your approval, or if somebody promotes themselves. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and, yep, that's the new password. I'll create a new admin account on this machine. We'll just call it Evil Hacker. This person is, and you know what? And it should be subject to the password policy, so I guess give me a moment here to come up with something better there. And yep, set to administrator, create user. So yeah, this is somebody that knowledge they sign or they use an exploit, and now they have an admin account on the machine. And that's not going to help us at all. That's not something we want to see. So give me just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and quit and relaunch support menu, and we'll get a couple notifications coming in showing that the account was created, the time it was created, the username, so that you can follow up and find out what was going on here, because it's clearly not an authorized change. Another additional note, we can whitelist certain admin accounts for creation. So if you do manually create an admin account on your machines in your environment, we can suppress those alerts in the event that you don't want to see that your admin account was or was not created. One moment longer while I wait for this notification to pop in.
And then
and there we go. Yep, they're starting to come in, so perfect.
I was going to say, Chad, if they have Zendesk integration by some chance, these notifications would in fact forward to their ticketing system, correct?
Yes, it would. Yep.
Great.
And here, okay, yeah, the SSH one has come in. The admin one will probably come in shortly. And if I scroll down here, it says, there was an SSH attempt. That's great. And it shows the host machine, where it came from, and the IP and the username that was attempted at the time. And if you start to see these, if you enroll in Robot Cloud or you're already enrolled, and you've seen these in the past, a lot of these come from root or like generic things like support or admin or ladmin. And that's because there are just brute force servers out in the wild that scan public IPs and try to get in with a dictionary attack. Typically, if you see somebody trying to connect with a specific account on that machine, they likely just, as they say, like fat-fingered it. They mistyped it. And clearly gives you an opportunity to follow up and find out, exactly, in which scenario that actually happened. Cool. Moving on from security as far as SSH and the admin account are concerned, there are things we can do on the OS layer to prevent users from running certain applications or installing other items that we do not want them to install. A common one that we see requested for blocking is blocking OS update or upgrades rather from from Yosemite to El Capitan, or when the new macOS Sierra comes out later this year. Administrators want to prevent users from automatically running those upgrades without vetting their machine, without making sure everything's going to work, and potentially breaking it, causing more work for you to fix it. For the purpose of this demo, all I did in this virtual machine, since it's already running El Capitan, is I blocked the App Store. And you may have seen I clicked on App Store, and I got this message right away saying access to the App Store is prohibited. Additional options besides just a dialog that comes up to the user, we can send an email notification showing which user tried to launch the application in case there's a larger HR issue that may need to be addressed. Additionally, the application can be removed. It can be deleted. I definitely did not select that here for App Store since it is a critical application that's protected by system integrity protection. But if you were looking to block Dropbox, or if you're looking to block Google Drive or other types of file sharing applications, transmission, BitTorrent, things like that, we can add software restrictions so that they cannot launch them. We can even go farther with configuration profiles and block the mounting of disk images, block the mounting of USB drives and things of that nature as well. But keep in mind, when you get that heavy-handed, you can often cause additional problems in your environment based on their workflows. So unless you have a firm reason for doing those additional ones, typically we just block it from running. So if they download it and try to run it, it gets blocked. That's really all we're trying to do, is make sure that they don't put pirated content or malware on their machine, at least as far as we can, right? So, all right, moving on one more time, or two more times here. Antivirus and malware deployment. So in this virtual machine, since I've already run what's called our first run on it, you'll see that antivirus was installed, and this was done automatically. It happened behind the scenes, just popped up, and this particular one is Avira. And Robot Cloud offers Avira as a free installation because it is the free version, just in case you want to have an antivirus or anti-malware app on your Mac, but you don't already have it. If you already have a paid subscription to a antivirus product such as Sophos or ESET or even the Symantec, we can integrate with that and automatically push it out for you, so you don't have to worry about those installations. Keep it patched. Just to be very clear, but RoboCloud does not come with those consoles. That's something you would set up on your own. If you didn't want to set that up and you just wanted an antivirus, we do offer the Avira free for automatic deployment. If there was a different free antivirus you were looking for, let us know, and we can push that out as well. It's really, whatever's best for your environment and whatever you're able to get away with as far as cloud licensing or free antivirus software goes. Another application of note, which I think most of the Mac community is aware of, but I'm just going to mention it anyway, Malwarebytes, Anti-Malware. We offer this through self-service. We can push it out to all machines if we wanted to. And this application, all it does is it scans specifically for malware. And sometimes we've seen it catch things that other antivirus applications have not. specifically like we might run a Symantec scan on a machine. It doesn't find something in Safari, but Malwarebytes did. So when it comes to this kind of approach on the Mac, it's best to not put all your eggs in one carton or basket, so to speak, and hedge your bets with multiple tools just in case. And here we installed it. It's ready to run, and I would assume that my virtual machine is clean, and it is. Okay, excellent. So, and again, I went to self-service here just like I did with the password policy. These can be automated so that no user is needed. They just deploy to the machine. And finally, the option I wanted to talk about was encryption. And you'll see here we have the option to encrypt your Mac. This is for File Vault 2, the full disk encryption supported by Apple. And when we go to click encrypt, what this does is it does a deferred enrollment for File Vault 2. And that subtext there, I didn't hover over it for long, says that all I need to do now that it's provisioned is, log out and log in again for the encryption to take place. This particular encryption scoped to the virtual machine is an individual key encryption. Robot Cloud can do institutional keys as well, although we don't see that very often anymore. And that individual key, we got evil hackers still. There we go. And great. The individual key is escrowed into the Robot Cloud site access, and you can see it. You can retrieve the key in case you don't have access to any of the accounts that are whitelisted or authorized for File Vault, and you need to decrypt the disk if the user was terminated or some scenario in which you might need that key. It is available to you. And in this particular provisioning, I had set it that once they log in, it is enforced. And again, I went through self-service. This can be deployed automatically, but we can also have the option for the user to defer. So that you can say that they can log in up to say 3 times or 5 times without running through it until the hammer comes down and they are forced to do it. I can't give you a good reason why users should be allowed to defer, but we have the option. And if you're in your environment, this that seems like the benevolent IT administrator and not the dictator, you can do things like that. Kat, can you still see my screen in the firmware layer here?
I can see a gray screen with Forget Computers, and it looks like something's being run.
Okay, good. Yep, that's why I love using virtual machines for this, because if this was a physical machine, I would have lost the connection and it would have restarted. And so, yep. And in a moment, when this logs back in, we'll go to the security preference pane, and you'll see that the encryption is currently taking place. So yeah, if there are any other security options that we didn't cover here, of course there are many, we can help you automate those and lock down the Macs as you see fit for your environment. This was just a taste, so to speak. And that's all I have, Kat.
Okay. Should we maybe move into some questions?
Yeah, by all means.
Okay, great. First question. You mentioned in the presentation the alerts can forward to Zendesk. What if I do not have Zendesk?
Then currently the alerts would just come into the email account of your choice. If you're already a Robot Cloud subscriber, or when you sign up, we're going to ask you for a primary email for these type of alerts and contacts. And if you use a different ticketing system, then the main email for that, support@whatever, can be used, and they can just automatically populate in there. It doesn't need to be a direct Zendesk integration. That's just our preferred solution.
Great. Next question. How can you use remote wipe with Robot Cloud?
When the Mac is enrolled into Robot Cloud, all of the feature sets of the MDM feature set from Apple is available, and we would log in to the Robot Cloud site access panel, and you can select the machine and perform a remote lock, remote wipe on it with a click of a button. It's not something I would deploy to a mass amount of machines, but it really is just logging into our website and clicking a button to wipe it. I don't have that set up in the VM to show you, unfortunately.
No problem.
Yeah, it is just clicking a button, logging in, click a button.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, and it's we can't demo it, but just know it is available. Let's see.
And included. Yeah.
And included. Yes, thank you. Where are encryption keys stored with Robot Cloud? Do we store them or would you store
The same area. Oh yeah, that's the Robot Cloud site access. You know what? And since we're getting some questions about that, let me go ahead and get a browser window open and maybe switch it over just so that they can see. Oh, there. One moment while I switch over. Yep, oh cool. Yeah, encryption said it just finished. Ah, there it is. So if I switch this over to Chrome, you'll see this is my El Capitan virtual machine. And if I click on the Management tab, I'll hear my Fall Vault 2 key has been configured. I can click this button to get the key for this virtual machine. And I don't mind having this in here because I'm going to blow this away in a moment anyway. And then our management commands where I can lock computer, wipe computer, excuse me. Like I said, just really clicks of a button. And I suppose I could attempt to lock this virtual machine. So I have
Yeah.
no idea if that's going to work.
And that would be great and really helpful if maybe you believe the computer can be retrieved or you believe it's somewhere in the building and you're just not sure exactly where it is. Um, Otherwise, if you feel like it's long gone, obviously a remote wipe command would be the better choice.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, hey, yeah, the virtual machine just restarted itself, and I may have locked my virtual machine. So tasty. I guess that ends as far as I'm going to demo for the time being.
We're just at time.
Next question, or yeah.
I was going to say we're just at time. We do have one more question, last question, and if you have any other questions, please send them our way. But for now, last question I'm showing is I work for a company where we've got very tight security measures. Can I disable perhaps the USB?
Yes, we can either put restrictions on USB, which is actually the preferred method of doing it, so that external disks can't be used via USB. It's not recommended that you disable USB entirely, because then if you unload those kernel extensions, which we can do in 10.10 and earlier, I haven't tried it in El Capitan without disabling system integrity protection. You don't want to disable the ability to, say, charge a device or use a keyboard and mouse that's USB connected. But as far as if you're worried about USB flash-based devices or hard drives, yes, those can be locked down. You can make them read-only, or you can make it so that they need a password to mount them, like an admin password to mount them. If there are already administrators on the machine, there may be some other things we can do. There are third-party utilities that we can also install and integrate with, like Carbon Black, for example, that can do additional things to the Mac operating system that Apple hasn't built into their configuration profiles. All right, and Kat, do you see my lock screen here? Did
I
that work out?
do, yeah.
All right, give me my machine back. All right, good. Okay.
Well, great. Well, thank you everyone
And
for.
yeah, if you have any additional questions, yeah, follow up. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We're at time. Then that concludes today's presentation. If you do have any questions or feedback, you can reach out to info@forgetcomputers.com or feel free to give us a call. You can reach us at 312-602-5345, extension 5. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye.